Welcome back, everyone, to Gals Need Pals, the pod. I'm your co-host, Kinley Schmidt.
And I'm your co-host, Lauren Trivison.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Today, we are going to talk about commitment and flakiness and how you shouldn't flake on your friends. Last episode, we touched on stage of life friends as well as just the difference of being friends when you're single versus being friends when you're in a relationship. And we ended that episode by saying just because you're in a relationship doesn't mean you get to be flaky on your friends.
Oh, yeah, no.
So I'll let Lauren start us off today.
Yes. All right. Flakiness. I feel like I got a lot to say on this one. And before I get into why flakiness grinds my gears personally, I want to give you a little background. So, have you heard of rejection sensitivity?
Mm-mm.
So, I was on Neurospicy TikTok a while back, and it is something that happens with a lot of neurodivergent people, which, am I diagnosed officially? No. But is there a very high likelihood that I am an autistic queen, an ADHD girly? Something is a little off and a little left of center in this brain.
We're going to do a gender reveal for Lauren, but instead of a gender reveal, it's if it determines if she's autistic or not.
I am 1,000% down for this, I hope you know.
Okay, well, you got to go to the doctor first and then tell them to just slip the envelope to me.
100%. Okay. We're going to work on that in a future episode. But rejection sensitivity is a phenomenon, I guess, where people that are a little neuroatypical, they experience rejection harder than the average person. And I think I have something along those lines because last few weeks I've dealt with some last minute cancellations from people, and that really grinded my gears and threw Lauren for a loop. I am what you would call very type A, and I am someone that needs a plan. I am a oldest daughter. I am a Virgo. I am as type A as they come, and I need my little routine. I need to know when things are happening. I get excited for things. I'll plan ahead. I'm like, oh, I have all these thoughts that go into what I need to prepare for before I go and do X, Y, and Z. And then when things get canceled last minute, I'm like, okay, love that for me. And I'm someone that lives by herself too. So not only am I physically isolated from the world, but then I feel even more emotionally isolated when people flake out, they cancel, and I have to figure something else out. Because I was like, oh, I could have used that time to go see someone else or done something else, a different activity, and you just completely threw Lauren for a loop. So absolutely hate flakiness, and because of that, I try to be very intentional with my friend group, my people, and I'm like, okay, I need to make sure if I can't do something, let them know as soon as possible, especially if I can't make a group plan. Like my friends went to some wine bar last weekend while I was out of town, and as soon as they were all planning that, I was like, hey guys, sorry I can't make it. Wasn't anything against them, it wasn't anything about me necessarily, it was just the schedules didn't align. Or a couple weeks ago, this was a little bit of me being kind of a flake, but also I was just burnt out at that point, and I had canceled on a friend's birthday dinner when we had just seen each other the day before, and I was like, hey guys, sorry about it, I'm just having a bit of anxiety, I've had all this stuff happen, and I was open and vulnerable with homegirl, when she had asked, oh, why'd you cancel last minute, and I was like, oh, I gave you a day's notice, technically, and I told her what was going on. Didn't hear a response, didn't get an answer, and I gotta be honest, that did kind of grind my gears a little bit, and I was just I'm trying to figure things out. Granted, I didn't make necessarily a plan for going forward, but I was still open and stuff, and she didn't really respect that, so I was like, okay, I guess I don't feel terrible about flaking out, but for the most part, if I can't make something, I try to come up with a solution. I talked to my best friend the other day. She had called me, and we were chatting and catching up because her and I haven't really seen each other in a little bit. And she's like, oh, I've missed you. And I was like, I miss you too. We have plans for a girls' night coming up. And she's like, oh, we should do something beforehand. I was like, yes, love that idea. So that's kind of in the works. But I do try to prioritize my people as best I can and figure things out and try not to leave anyone high and dry, especially if it's just like the two of us are doing something, because I know that they made a commitment and I made a commitment, and I try to honor that. And I think the reason why we're even having a conversation on flakiness is people don't honor commitments anymore. And we've become so hyper individualistic, and our culture really celebrates you got to do things for yourself, you got to be alone, that's all we do is we hang out by ourselves. I mean, we were in a pandemic, granted, for a couple of years and got used to isolation, but that's over. We could go and
it's 2025.
Yeah, we could go and lollygag and frolic again and create memories with our loved ones, and people are taking advantage of that. And it's so bizarre to me to think that we've gone so far. I mean, at the core of humanity, we are a herd animal, and we belong in groups and in community with each other, and we are just not doing that anymore, and it's so bizarre to me. So let me know your 2 cents. I feel like I really rambled there for a minute.
No, you're good. I feel like we have to touch on the fact that it's okay to cancel plans every once in a while.
Absolutely. Stuff happens.
Yeah, but it's the boy who cries wolf situation, right? You can't continue to cancel because your friends are going to lose respect for you and will eventually stop inviting you to things.
100%.
And you can't get upset by that, because if you're not putting in the effort, they shouldn't put the effort in either. Ben always tells me that friendships should be a mutual amount of effort put into a friendship, I should say. And, if one friend is inviting the other friend 100% of the time, then it doesn't feel like the friendship is mutual in any way. So I think that that's important to touch on, and It's okay to, like, every once in a while have a mental health day, or, I was a teacher, and so going out after work, even though I made plans to, was really a struggle, because the day was so draining and so exhausting that I get home around 3:30, and, we have plans for 6 o'clock, and I just, sit down on my couch, and I'm like, oh, God, I so badly want to just stay here.
Yeah.
But if I continue to cancel every single time, then they would never invite me again. So I did, when I was teaching, I did still really put in that effort. But I have a couple of stories, actually, about flakiness. And the first one, it was about a friend, and we had a Galentine's, this was before Gals Meet Pals. We planned a Galentine's night out, and all those girls were in relationships. I was single at the time, but I was so excited. I love Galentine's. I don't really love Valentine's, even though I have a Valentine. I just don't believe in...
spiritually feel that, although this is my first year with a Valentine.
So it's taken me excited?
27 years to get to this point. I have been waiting. I've bated breath for this one. So I'm going to really soak that up. But yeah, Nolan and I were talking about it the other day, and I was like, after this year, we could do barely anything. Yeah. I don't care. But I was like, give me this one time to really enjoy it, and then...
Yeah, I think I've always felt just like not anti-Valentine's Day, but just not a huge fan of Valentine's Day, because my dad always taught us that we should love, our significant other every single day of the year.
That's what Nolan brought up too.
Just Valentine's. And you should 100%. Put in the effort to show your love more than just on a single day that was created probably by Hallmark. But I loved Galentine's because it was a day dedicated to celebrating your girlfriends, and I love that. So in college, I used to always wake up and surprise my roommate and with
cute.
A little gift and everything, because I loved celebrating them. So that's what I did for this Galentine's. We met up for dinner first at the mall here in Spokane, and then went to the movie. And of course, I was like, oh, I'm so excited. I got little goodie bags for all of my friends. And I was just so excited. I wrote just little cards for them. But I get there, and I had put in all this effort, and 4 of them, show up, and then the 5th girl, she didn't even give us a heads up or anything. I think we were already at the restaurant when she was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to make it. And I was like,
ma'am,
bitch, what? It's like I put in all this effort, and I know it. Like it was a surprise. She didn't know I put in all this effort, but I was like, damn, to flake that late in the night is just so absurd to me and so inconsiderate.
Yeah.
I just was so mad.
I would be too. That's
so crazy. There's that one. But then there's also a story where I got canceled on really last minute for a first date. So this was prior to Ben. I think I had met Ben maybe less than a month after this whole ordeal went down. So it was, in God's timing, obviously. This guy slid into my DMs.
Yeah.
He actually found me through Gals Need Pals randomly.
Weird.
So that's why I'm bringing this up. And he was like, my friend went to a Gals Need Pals event. I checked out your page. I think you're gorgeous. Like, I want to take you out. And I was like, okay. Thanks. But at this time, I was not a big dater. Like, I didn't go on a lot of dates. I was not on dating apps, nothing like that. And so
Couldn't be me.
You went on a lot of dates.
Oh my God.
Was scared of dating, I think. I was scared of first dates. First dates just made me so nervous. I'm not super outgoing, and so first dates just gave me a lot of anxiety. But I committed.
Good.
To this.
I went on 5 first dates in 1 month, and that was the most insane thing I ever did.
First dates.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I literally have gone on 2, I think. That's irrelevant. So I commit to going on this first date, which is already a big step for me.
Yeah.
Is committing to this date in the first place. And when I think it was like a Friday night, and when I had gotten home from teaching that day, I had this rash on my eyelids, and it was just like literal, like big dots all over my eyelids, and it was not cute. Don't know what it was. Still to this day, don't know what it was. I was like, I cannot cancel this date. So I put on my little glasses.
Cute.
And I did my makeup around my eyes. And I put on a cute outfit. I was ready to go. I committed, so I was going. In less than an hour before the date, he texts me and he cancels.
Fake as fuck.
Yeah, so fake,
thank you.
Right? Like, ugh, hate that. Ironically, I saw him out at a bar the same weekend. I was celebrating my engagement with all my friends.
Oh.
And I was like, oh my God, do you remember me? I'm engaged now. But anywho, he canceled, and he gave me some excuse. Don't fucking know what it was.
Yeah, whatever.
Don't care.
No.
I was like done with this boy after that. Hated him. TG, my girlfriend, who was engaged at the time, was like, you're already dressed. You're already cute. Let's go out. Let's get a drink. So I didn't have to, waste the cute outfit and the makeup. Really shout out to her. I was like done. He was cut out. I was like, no, not going to go on another date. He tried to replan one. I was like pretending like I'd go along with it, but I was never going to go on a date with him. And I was like, okay, bye. Held him at this, high standard of not, you have flaked on me. I'm done. Why don't we hold our friends to that same standard?
Honestly.
Did I get upset with that girl that didn't come to that Galentine's thing? No. Did I talk to her about it? No. Did I stop hanging out with her? Not in that period of time, no. But why didn't I hold her to the same accountability and same standard that I did this man?
Yeah. Especially if they don't give you a reason or anything. Like, at least tell me what's going on and we can have a conversation about it like adults.
She probably did. She probably gave an excuse. Do I remember it? It wasn't that good of an excuse because I remember it, but I remember feeling so hurt by it.
And I don't think friends think about that sometimes. It's like, oh, they're my friend. Like, we're going to do whatever. But actions have consequences and people have real emotions. And we forget that this is a good reminder, even just talking about it, of like, hey, we need to hold each other accountable and be like, you're being a really crummy friend right now. Mm-hmm. And if they're not really worth being your friend, just kind of maybe lightly ghost them or something and be like, doodles.
No, I don't believe in ghosting. No, never ghost. I'm always about, sending a little texty text. Hey.
In a certain context, like, I was a serial online dater. I would
Okay, well, that's different. We're talking about men. We can ghost them. Yeah. I was meaning our friends. We don't ghost our friends.
Yeah, but some people, I like a little slow fade of like, maybe I'm not going to see you much.
Yeah, well, just kinda... I say all that, and then this girl I probably ghosted, so I mean, I take accountability. This girl, she and I were friends, but not super close friends. And she wanted to move in with me.
Oh, I remember this girl.
I don't know.
I don't know if we told the podcast, but you and I have talked about it before.
Yeah, she wanted to move in. I was like, sure, yeah, absolutely. And then, like, she was like, okay, I'm going to be moving in at the end of the month. And then I wouldn't hear a single word from her for the entire month. So, and then I'd be like, okay, so is she moving in? So I would be text her and be like, so, like, are you moving in? And the first time she was like, hey, I need another month, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, cool. Not a big deal. Still had shit in that room anyways that I needed to clean out. I was like, cool. And this was literally, like, a day before she was supposed to move in. And then the next month, don't hear a single thing from her.
Oh, yeah. At that point, I would just be done.
Yeah, and so I basically was just like, hey, I'm really sorry to do this to you, but I haven't heard from you. And just with the lack of communication, I'm worried about that component of it as, like, a landlord. And I just don't think it's the best fit for you to move in. And, like, this is my home. Like, I live in it also. Yeah. So that was really worrisome. And she was so mad. And rightfully so. I apologized, whatever. And she basically she was like, can we meet up for coffee to talk this over? And at that point, I was just like, I don't think so. And I think I was just ready for the friendship to end because she canceled the Galentine's and she kind of just disappeared. And
that's awkward.
Yeah. And I mean, could I, today, the Kinley I am today, would I have gone and talked it through? Probably I would have been more mature, but at the time I was still young, my early 20s, and I was just like, kind of like, I don't want the confrontation. I don't want the drama.
Yeah. There's that component too of, like, sometimes it's easier to flake than to confront, and
which now is not I don't condone that.
Yeah.
Life happens, shit happens.
Yeah. You gotta just be real at the end of the day, and people don't want to be.
Yeah, but we definitely need to hold our friends accountable for their actions.
Yes.
Just as much as we hold men in our lives.
Yeah, and almost we should hold the women to a little bit higher standard, because, I mean, I try to hold myself to a high standard, and I want my friends, I want the best for my friends, so I try to be the best I can be for them, and I would want them to give me the same kind of respect, because female friendship's important, and it's a special kind of relationship and bond, and we need to value that and cherish that and treasure it in a way that everyone mutually wins and benefits.
Yeah, and I think we always say, like, okay, that's the bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as a friend, it's the bare minimum to show up to your events that you know, or dinners that you planned.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I mean, the bare minimum. Oh, go ahead.
I was just kind of thinking to, like, birthdays and stuff and, like, parties that I've planned and people that cancel last minute and don't even tell me what's going on. I had a party a couple years ago now, and I was counting on all these people to show up, and I was like, hey, please RSVP. Thought they were coming. They were being all supportive leading up to it. Night before I confirmed that they're going to be there, no message. Day of, no message. And I was just like, yo, what the heck?
Yeah,
and
that's rude.
That just really put a sour taste in my mouth. And I'm like, I will go out of my way for people that I think are worth the time and energy. And if you're not going to give that to me, then it's not going to work here. But just be respectful and at least communicate. That's something I think so many adults don't do, and it just grinds my gears.
Definitely, communication is key. And that's definitely something I regret from that experience with that other girl, because I could have been a better communicator. I could have definitely reached out. Phone does definitely work both ways.
Yeah.
Like, bare minimum, going back to that guy canceling so last minute.
Mm-hmm.
But Ben, my now fiance, when he canceled plans on me once, he had been out of town. He was driving back from Oregon from a wedding, and that night we were planning to see each other. We were still really early in our dating, but my dad was in town, so he was going to meet my dad. And he gets, like, the stomach flu or something on the drive back from Oregon.
Oh, no.
So he's literally, like, having to stop every few miles to throw up or shit his pants, pretty much. And he obviously messages me and he's like, hey, I'm ill. I'm not going to be able to make it tonight. But of course, in my brain, my girl brain, little Delulu was like, he's canceling because he just doesn't want to meet my dad. I was like, cool, this relationship's going nowhere. Mm-hmm. I thought that was it.
Yeah, that's part of the rejection sensitivity brain.
Right?
Like, I will go worst case scenario. I'm like, people don't love me anymore. It's all over. Like, why? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was there. That was in my brain. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed. But this is where the difference between bare minimum and putting in effort. I get a text from my aunt who lives next door to me, and she's like, hey, do you know that there's flowers on your front steps? And I was like, no, what? Oh. And I get home, and he had brought me flowers as a way to, like, say sorry. And it wasn't because I had expressed that I was angry at him. I didn't express that I was upset by it. I was going on about my day, but he put in the effort. He recognized that it was important to me. He still put in that extra effort. Even on his deathbed. He's a king.
We love that for you. Mm-hmm. That's so cute.
Love you, Ben. But yeah, what else?
I think that's kind of all I got on this topic, but we've got to save our voices because we have a very exciting next episode coming up because we're going to have our first ever guest. I think you girlies are going to definitely want to tune in next week. She is an entrepreneur. We're going to veer a little bit from just purely discussing friendships, which is going to be a big part of the podcast, but we also want to invite other women entrepreneurs, other women doing amazing things in their community, getting different perspectives other than just Kinley and I yapping at you the whole time. So this is our first foray into having a guest star, and I think you guys are going to get a lot of value out of it and learn a lot from the conversation. You're going to want to tune back in, and with that, I am your co-host, Lauren Trivison.
And I am your co-host, Kinley Schmidt. This is Gals Need Pals, the pod, and we are bringing the bar bathroom banter to the real world.